Paul George. So they've been linked to Paul George for, I want to say, almost all season. He still has not signed his extension with the Clippers. He wants a max deal. Shams reported that the Clippers have not been willing to offer him a max deal. I don't know why he thinks he's going to get a max with the Clippers. They didn't even offer Kawhi a max, but whatever. But they have been linked. So the Sixers, I do think they have been rumored to, they will be willing to offer Paul George the max. And I also think that there is mutual interest on both sides. I know there was a podcast earlier this season talking about, Paul George talking about Joel Embiid and that they're friends and like he would be willing to play with him or something like that, to that extent. But Paul George provides a lot to the Sixers, and I think it would be a good signing. I think that people are against it, right, and rightfully so, because of his age at 35 years old, giving that type of money to that type of player, and also he is injury prone. He also has not lived up to the performances in the playoffs. Like people call him a playoff choker. I don't think he's a playoff choker. I just don't think he performs up to the standard of what people expect for him at the option that he is over in LA. But that's a completely different story. I do think that if you take his stats and replace them with Tobias's stats on the Sixers, I do think that the Sixers beat the Knicks in 5 games, and I do think that the Sixers walk to the Eastern Conference Finals. And this is the same exact team. You just take out Tobias, you add Paul George, right? And I'm not going to make this a Tobias blame thing. There's plenty of people to blame, but I'm just trying to make a point. So I do think that the people have issues with his age, with the giving him that type of money. Also, who are you going to surround the Sixers with as a team? He's injury prone, playoff choker, different things like that. So bonuses right off the bat with Paul George, right? He's a good space. The spacing for the Sixers will look completely different. He's going to be able to work off of Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. His ability to play off ball is something that the Sixers absolutely need. And he's an athlete, right? We saw that how Kelly Oubre looked and how he had his best career. His best season of his career, simply because the Sixers have not had athletes. So you put an athlete like Kelly Oubre next to Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, they're just going to look worlds better than they have in their entire career, because the Sixers have never had this. And the one year that they did have it was the Ben, Tobias, Jimmy, JJ, and Joel year. That was the one time they had more than one athlete on the court at one time. So spacing for Paul George, he's going to immediately bring that ability to work off ball, like being a cutter, being able to find open spots on the floor, something that Tobias just couldn't do well. Like Paul George's ability to switch, he'll be able to guard bigger wings. So if you do run into a Boston, like the Celtics, like if you do run into Tatum and Jaylen Brown, he's able to switch that. You're able to, have Kelly Oubre guarding Jaylen Brown and Paul George guarding Jason Tatum, like different things like that on ball. And his switchability, that's something I didn't talk about with Paul George. But one thing that he's going to provide a major upgrade for the Sixers is ball handling and shot creation. Paul George is somebody who can initiate the offense. He can go one-on-one. He can collapse the defense. He can put pressure on the rim. And there's a reason why Cam Payne looked so good in that series versus the Knicks, because he was the only guard other than Tyrese Maxey that could put pressure on the rim, that could collapse the defense, that could kick out to open shooters. The Knicks weren't worried about anybody else on the Sixers driving except for Tyrese Maxey at times, which is why the defense looks so elite, because they didn't move. The Sixers didn't have to move. The Knicks did not have to move their defense. So when you add somebody in like Paul George, who's able to initiate an offense, who's able to have good shot, he has good shot creating skills, and you're able to work Tyrese Maxey off ball, and Paul George is able to collapse the defense. Now the Knicks defense has to move, because now you're worried about Tyrese Maxey off ball. You're worried about Joel Embiid, while you have another elite wing at the top of the key or on the wing initiating an offense. You don't have to run your entire offense through Tyrese Maxey or Joel Embiid. Now you have another option to where the defense has to be worried about him. So that is something that Paul George brings that would open up the Sixers offense. It helps Tyrese Maxey. It helps Joel Embiid. And Paul George has shown that he is able to take over games. And he is able to be a number one option when called on if needed. Just like he had that 33 or 35 point game in the playoffs in the playoffs this year versus the Mavericks. Like, he has the ability to completely take over a game. And it's just another player, the defense, what we have to worry about when you have Tyrese Maxey, who has the potential to go off for 40. Joel Embiid has the potential to go off to 40. Paul George has the potential to go off for 30, 35. Like, that is just going to bring an elite aspect to the Sixers on offense to where it's going to be so hard to guard them, especially with Nick Nurse's offense of them constantly moving and cutting. If you even bring back Kelly Oubre, it's just going to be, the Sixers will be essentially unguardable if you add a player like Paul George, because they can attack you in so many different ways that the defense will just be constantly moving, constantly on edge. You can always be attacking. So that is the reason I think that it would be a good idea to sign Paul George. I don't care about the age thing as much because I do think that the Sixers do only have like a 2-year window. I do think 2 or 3-year window, 3 years at max. If they do not win a championship in 3 years, I do think that they're just eventually going to have to blow it up. Joel will be 33. I don't think his knee is going to hold up that long, and I just don't think you can have the same core around Joel. I mean, I just don't think you can just continuously do this, especially at Joel's age. And I do think they will blow it up. So I do think that they should sign Paul George, and I think it will be a good asset. And I do think that the Sixers, you automatically catapult the Sixers into championship contender conversations. I know we see what the Wolves are doing, the Thunder. Wolves are putting belt to ass to the Nuggets right now, but completely different story.